Long days, pleasant nights, and welcome to Kingslingers, a Doof Media podcast journeying through Stephen King's Dark Tower series and beyond. My name is Scott Daly, and I am your host, and I'm joined this week not by my co-host and King newbie Matt Freeman, because Matt Freeman is sick. He's very sick, and he can't talk anymore, and so we're giving him a week off. But I wanted to have something to release to you folks because I felt so bad about having to do this the last minute, so I turned to my other partner, my life partner, my wife, Elyse Daly. Elyse, say hello to the people.
Hello.
How are you doing today, babe?
I'm doing all right, but I kind of take offense that I'm not your co-host. Like, I'm your co-host of life. Yeah. I am the co-host.
That's what I said. You're my life partner. He's my pod partner. You're my life partner.
That's not what you said. You said, I don't have my co-host.
You don't.
But I am your co-host in this thing called life.
For those that maybe don't know, who only listen to Kingslingers and haven't listened to the rest of our deep, vast doof collection of podcasts, my wife Elyse and I did a podcast a number of years back.
Did.
It was called Vow to View. It was right after we got married, and we said, let's do a podcast about all those movies that married couples and any kind of couple in relationships make each other watch. So we did a podcast about that, and then we got a little bored with that, and so we decided to watch the hit 2000s teen drama The OC and record a podcast about that. But then we got into season 4 of that and got really bored, and I hated that show.
I told you it was a bad season.
It was a really bad. So we never finished. We'll finish it one day. We took a break from that show in July of 2020. And we haven't been back since, I think.
And you know what? Out of all the things that Scott could have had us record on tonight, he chose not to have us finish the show. He's like, we do something else, because that's how bad the series finale, of The OC is. It was
real bad. I did watch the finale. We just never recorded an episode on it. It was real bad.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today, Elyse, because this is a Stephen King podcast.
Yeah, which is why do you have me on here for Stephen King?
And I think it is the old Loki line from Avengers Endgame or whatever, where he says, "You must be truly desperate to turn to me." And that is the case with you, because I had no plans. I had nothing. We were kind of watching Matt's illness throughout the week and hoping that he'd be better. Tuesdays are normal recording time. He wasn't better by Tuesday. We were like, oh, maybe Wednesday he'll be better. And Wednesday afternoon, Matt was like, I can't talk. So I was scrambling, trying to come up with something to do. And I said, hey, it'd be fun to chat with the old ball and chain. But Elyse, I guess the important context here.
Lavish me with compliments some more, please.
The important bit of context here is I don't think you would call yourself a fan of Stephen King. Like, how many?
Well, let's see.
How many Stephen King books have you read?
It's a good question, Scott.
Mm-hmm.
How many Stephen King books are there?
Are you going to answer it?
Well, how many Stephen King books are there?
I don't think the number of books has any weight on how many of them you've read.
And what are all of his books again? What has he written?
Well, you just answered the question. You know the answer to the question.
I don't think I read any, Scott.
Yeah, the answer is 0.
And you picked to do the Stephen King podcast not with your wife, and for good reason. Because
so I guess the question I have for you about that is this because you don't love me?
Movies have I seen?
Way to deflect. That was great deflection.
Yes, because I have seen those and shows. I watch those with you.
You
it's
do.
Just, close the eyes. I'm a very visual person, and so if I read something that is scary to me, it's just not good. Which is why, if it's a movie, I'll walk out of the room. I'll leave. I'll close my eyes. I don't have to see it, but the image that I come up with in my head is most of the time scarier than what I would see on TV.
That's fair.
So.
But the thing you don't realize, and the thing that Matt has been realizing over the course of these 2.5 years we've been doing this show. Is that
they're worse than he thought?
No, is that the books aren't really that scary. I mean, the one we're reading right now, The Shining, is pretty scary.
Bad.
But King writes spooky, sure, but isn't write all spooky. And I've multiple times throughout our marriage given you several King books that I think would not scare you.
That one show, what was the Franco show? We don't even talk about him anymore.
11/22/63.
Yeah, he's not around anymore. We don't talk about it. Yeah, I mean, that was a good show.
This is what happens when I have my wife on the show, is that any plans I have for like any specific goal or drive of the episode is just kind of thrown up in the air when Elyse
blinded by my beauty.
She just seizes control of the show and just
I don't even think that I really have control of the show at this point. I could take it if you want.
I mean, a great example of what I mean is that I didn't even finish that sentence before you started talking.
What sentence?
Exactly.
What were you saying?
Exactly. Thank you, babe.
That's why we're married, guys.
I love you. I love you so much.
Yeah, I love you too. So what did you want me on here to talk about with Stephen King? Because I haven't read any books and I've only seen shows and movies.
I thought it'd be fun for you to tell me the plot of Stephen King stories you haven't read. I thought that'd be funny.
So anything Stephen King.
I don't know if that's actually going to be funny. I just thought it'd be funny if like Elyse... The image I had in my head is Elyse, please explain to me the plot of Stephen King's Dark Tower series. Go.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, do you really want me to go on that, or do you?
I do.
But I've seen the first movie. Whoa. So when you
say the first movie, it implies that there are other movies.
Well, I mean, like, I say first movie because the first book was only the first movie. No, there was more than one book in that movie?
There was none of the first book in the movie.
Well, then what was the movie?
Good question. Good question. It was a lot of things. Very little of it was the Dark Tower.
Huh. News to me.
So, okay. Elyse.
Yeah.
Who is the protagonist of the Dark Tower?
See, the only thing that comes to mind is Idris Elba. And I know that he played that character, and that the title of the first book in the series is The Gunslinger.
Right.
And so The Gunslinger. But if he has a name other than that, I'm drawing a blank.
His name is Roland.
Ah, no, I remember that name now. Mm-hmm. Yes.
He is a gunslinger. You are correct. What is a gunslinger?
He's a man that slings a gun. And can I tell everyone right now? You're welcome, because
oh my God, here we go.
You know how this whole like podcast series is called Kingslingers? You know the very few things that I know about Dark Tower? The Gunslinger. And you know the author that Scott likes? Stephen King? I was like, Kingslinger. Actually, it also came from Game of Thrones, like the Kingslayer. You know? And so I just smashed it all together, and you're welcome.
It is 100% the truth that the name of our podcast came from the mind of Elyse Daly. That is 100% true.
Yeah, most of the creative direction of this whole thing comes from me.
I don't know if that's true. You're like the name person.
I am the vision.
Doof. That was you. That was an Elyse original.
And now they're like, oh my gosh, what other of the wonderful things? And they're like, oh yeah, this was really good. And we'll find out Elyse made it. And they're like, yeah, this was questionable. Yep, that wasn't me.
Elyse, you're distracting us from our main goal here, which is telling the plot of the Dark Tower series. So the main character's name is Roland. He is a gunslinger he slings guns.
Yeah.
What does he want?
He wants to help this little boy.
Okay.
And Matthew McConaughey's trying to get the little boy.
And what is Matthew McConaughey's character name?
The Dark Man. That's
close.
Yeah, he's actually the one who's also in The Stand. He makes a couple appearances in different King books here and there.
Genuinely impressed you remember that. That's true. His name is Randall Flagg.
Yes, smiley face man.
Smiley face. Yes, he does have a smiley face pin on. In The Gunslinger, he's called the Man in Black.
Or Peter Scarsdale.
What's Peter
his name?
Scarsdale?
What's that brother? There's the three of them.
Skarsgård?
Skarsgård. Yeah, the pretty one.
I don't think his name's Peter.
What is it? Skarsgård, Paul.
Peter?
No.
Mary?
Peter, Paul.
Joseph. Okay, so he wants to save who is the boy? What is the boy's name?
Boy?
Sure. Let's go with that. His name is Boy.
Yeah.
And why does...
Because he's got like visions, or he sees things, doesn't he?
Does he have
like
The
makes
Shining?
Drawings.
The problem is your entire understanding of this plot is from the movie, which is so incredibly different.
Well, I told you I haven't ever read it.
I know, but that's the whole game. You're supposed to be guessing. Okay, so...
Well, I can't really guess if I, like, have seen part of it.
But just throw it out of your head. You just don't need it. None of it... Roland wants to get to the Dark Tower, babe. He wants to get to the Dark Tower.
Well, duh. It's all called the Dark Tower series.
Yeah. And he's trying to figure out how to get there. And he does encounter a little boy along the way whose name is Jake. Jake does not fare well at the end of the first book. Does his
dog die?
Does Jake's dog die?
Does he have a dog?
He does not have a dog.
Are you sure?
He has a Billy Bumbler named Oi.
And Oi dies.
Oi does die.
I remember Oi dying. You cried.
You've 7 books ahead now.
6 movies. So
the second novel is titled The Drawing of the Three.
Oh yeah, because the little boy draws.
What is that?
3.
What is this? What is drawing?
The Wise Men.
The Wise Men?
Mm-hmm. Like, because, it's got to have some sort of biblical reference in there.
Yeah, it does have several of those. Yeah. So like the 3, so when you hear the 3, you go to the Wise Men.
I go to Wise Men. I go to Trinity.
Who is the Jesus in this scenario?
Well, Jesus is not the Wise Men. The Wise Men are not. Like, Jesus is not one of the wise men.
Obviously, I knew that. But if we're drawing the 3 wise men, I would assume we're drawing them to Jesus. Which would make Roland Jesus?
No, I don't think that he is. I think it's the little boy.
Okay, so Jake.
Or it could be Oi.
Oi is Jesus. Yeah, I mean, a lot of our listeners out there, I think, would agree with you. So the 3 that are drawn are named Eddie.
Are you telling me for real, or am I supposed to? Okay,
I was just gauging your reaction to that.
Eddie.
And then there's Odetta. And then there's Detta. And they make Susanna.
Very creative for Odetta and Detta right there.
We'll see. Odetta and Detta are 2 personalities trapped in the same body. So the person has multiple personalities. And she switches back and forth between the nice Odetta and the very mean animalistic Detta.
So he's like speaking Swedish because discard and odiscard.
I mean, sure.
I think he got it from some sort of like.
We went to we went to Sweden for our honeymoon, and we have a magnet on our fridge that is clean and dirty, and that's Swedish.
Clean and unclean.
Clean, and that's Swedish for clean and unclean. So that's I'm just giving the people the context for the nonsense.
But he did it wrong because Odetta, you said, was the good one, and Detta was so bad. So it really should be Detta is clean.
If there's one thing we've learned,
Odetta is unclean. If you're gonna use the Swedish language in order to name characters, Steven, get it right.
Jesus. Yeah, I mean, you're right, babe. You tell him. You tell that.
I hope you don't lose any listeners after this show. I'm so sorry.
We're definitely not going to gain any, that's for sure.
I mean, maybe what?
Okay, so the 3rd book is called The Wastelands. What does that say to you?
Garbage. Yeah.
Just so Wastelands is just like a big garbage dump.
In the dump.
So why are our characters going through the garbage dump?
Buried treasure.
Oh, okay. And what kind of treasure do they get?
You gotta get the key to the tower, babe.
That's where the key is, in the garbage dump. Okay.
How do you not know these?
Okay, well, in the middle of the garbage dump is a city named Lud that they have to travel through.
Okay.
What do you think they encounter while they're in the city of Lud?
Crud
and Lud.
Yeah, crud and Lud.
What does the name Blaine the Mono say to you?
I'm sorry, say this again.
Blaine the Mono.
The Mono. So he really likes to lip lock with lots of people. And so much so that you get a nickname about being not just Blaine with mono, but Blaine the Mono. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a terrible reputation. He's a train. Yeah, he's a monorail.
Oh, so he's been railing something, hasn't he?
It is a sentient AI train.
Is this
that our
what that,
characters have to travel through.
What's that choo-choo book?
Charlie the Choo-Choo.
Charlie the Choo-Choo.
Yeah.
Any correlation?
Yes.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So they have to travel on Blaine the Mono, who is obsessed
Everybody does.
Who is obsessed with riddles and makes them play him in a competition of riddles, or else he's going to crash himself and kill them all. So that is where the Wastelands ends. And the fourth book, Wizard and Glass, picks up. Wizard and Glass. So, first of all, the question I have for you is, how do they defeat Blaine the Mono in their riddle game? What is the riddle that defeats Blaine the Mono?
Antibiotics?
I'm sorry, what?
Like antibiotics. Like, wouldn't that help get rid of mono?
Jesus, you're still on the mono thing. Sure. So the riddle. So they just say to Blaine, who is a machine, they just say antibiotics.
Boom.
And he blows up.
Boom.
That's it.
Boom.
And that where do they get off the train?
So if the train blew up, did they get off the train before it blows up, did they like get thrown in the explosion?
They got the train. Didn't explode. It just came to a rough stop at the end of the line.
But you told me it exploded.
I didn't. You decided that. You said the word boom. I was just going with it.
I think if we play this back, you might have said boom.
I repeated boom after you said boom.
What was the question again?
Where are they?
That's what you need the glass for. So the wizard can look into it and tell you where you are.
Okay. So when the wizard looks into that glass, he finds that they're in Topeka, Kansas. And then
where you click your heels.
And then actually, babe, from there, book 4 is primarily a flashback where Roland tells the story of his first love.
His gun.
No, it's a loaded question. Yeah, I mean, kind of. He does love those guns very much. But I was talking about Susan Delgado, who is a woman he meets as a young boy while he's in the town of Hambry to do some horse counting. And he falls in love with her.
That's how I fell in love with you.
Falls in love with her.
We counted horses
they have
together.
A sordid love affair. She's promised to the mayor of Hambry, and he doesn't care. He says, "I'm Roland. I'm a gunslinger. I love her." How does that whole thing work out? You think? Does you think it works out well?
Well, she's not in that first movie.
True.
And he seemed to be pretty alone. So I'm guessing it doesn't fare well for her.
What does the phrase "char you tree, come reap" mean to you?
Char you tree, you better burn. You better burn.
That's good. Yeah, they light her on fire.
Char you tree.
Yeah. Good. Well done.
Yeah,
well done.
Thank you.
So she doesn't make it. But
one out of what? 50 so far?
I mean, we're skipping a lot of things, but the point is, this is where he first learns about the Dark Tower, too, and becomes a little obsessed with the Dark Tower. And then he's got like a whole thing with his mom that's really Oedipal. I don't want to get into that. He loves his mom kind of in some inappropriate ways. Not literally, but, like he doesn't. You get it. He kills his mom, basically. Kills her.
Well, let's just hope that doesn't happen to me.
I hope not. That's why you wouldn't let me name our son Roland.
That's not why, but that's fine. You can say that.
Okay, so that's the end of that book. At the very end of the book, they go.
Is that number 5?
That's a 4.
4.
They go to the Emerald Palace from The Wizard of Oz.
Well, yeah, because they were in Kansas,
and they meet Randall Flagg again. And they defeat him. He's not dead. He just disappears. But that's the end of the book.
Okay.
Can we stop here for a minute?
I mean, by all means.
Everything that I've said is true.
Everything I've said is true.
No, false. But I just want to
I mean, like, I've truly said everything that I've said, but it just may not be true in the context of your story. But everything I've said is true.
You're hurting my brain. I just want to get, like, how do you feel about the story so far? It's pretty wild, right? Like, you really didn't react like I thought you were when I said the phrase, and at the end of the book, they get to the Emerald City from The Wizard of Oz. You were just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, you were in Kansas. Where else are you going to go?
Yes, but
Yeah. But also, like, is he allowed to steal that from Frank?
From Frank?
Frank Oz, the writer of The Wizard of Oz?
I don't think the writer of The Wizard of Oz is named Frank Oz.
I think it's Frank something.
Isn't Frank Oz the guy that does Yoda?
I don't think you're right on this.
I think I am.
I don't know.
Oh my god!
Never have I wanted to be.
His
right
name was
on
Frank.
anything.
I mean, it's L. Frank Baum is the writer of
Baum, like the train. So he stole a lot from him.
Blaine. That's two totally different names.
He said the train went boom.
Oh my god! Oh my god! At least the 5th book is named Wolves of the Calla.
How many books are there?
There are 7.
Okay.
We're trucking right along. The 5th
Did you talk
book,
about that it's a holy number?
7?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that why he picked it?
I have no idea.
Okay, continue.
Book 5. It's one of the biggest books. It's called Wolves of the Calla.
Is it his biggest book he's written?
No. That would be
so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Extended cut or it. Elyse, Wolves of the Calla.
Wolves.
Yeah.
Of the
Calla.
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 Kaya.
No, not in this book. It's pronounced Calla. It's specifically pronounced Calla.
I'm gonna say Kaya.
Okay, you can do whatever you want, babe. But this is your telling of the story. Yeah. Although I've kind of had to take over because you're just not giving me a lot.
I think we need some good edits and rewrites. And if you'd taken my suggestions, I think that this could have been a 7-movie blockbuster hit.
So have you heard of the 7 Samurai, the movie?
Yes. Have you shown it to me? Absolutely not.
I believe I have.
You did not.
What about The Magnificent Seven, which is a Western?
That's a Western with Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
That I started to watch.
The remake had Chris Pratt in it.
I started to watch it, and to no surprise, I'm sure, I fell asleep. But, I mean, most movies, they have that happen.
So the basic premise of both of these stories is, some outlaws come to a town, and the town needs help in protecting themselves from a band of outlaws or what have you. And that is the basic premise for Book 5, Wolves of the Calla. Our group of gunslingers gets to a town.
There's more than one gunslinger now.
Yeah, I told you. There's Eddie, there's Susanna, and there's Jake. And there's Oi. And
Oi's a gunslinger now?
Oh, yeah.
A dog?
He's more than a dog.
Is he a wolf man?
He's a Billy Bumbler, which is kind of like a dog weasel thing.
So is it just like anyone can be a gunslinger now?
Yeah, you just have your heart has to be true, and you got to shoot real good.
So you couldn't be one.
Me?
Yeah.
Ouch. Harsh. You got to have steel in there.
So I could be one.
You'd be a
stone and steel. Are they the same thing?
Are stone and steel the same thing?
Because mine's more a stone.
Is that a serious question?
No.
So our gunslingers get to the
Would you rather have stone or steel in there?
In my heart?
Yeah.
Probably steel, because it protects it. But stone has a very negative connotation. Like it's like you've locked it off. But steel is just like, when the chips fall, you're just gonna be strong.
But then if you apply enough pressure, it'll turn into a diamond.
No.
I'd rather have a diamond for a heart than stone.
I'm sorry. So you're saying that a stone will turn into a diamond?
Yeah, with enough pressure.
Just any rock.
Pressure builds diamonds.
So you just take I can just pick up a rock and just put it under a lot of pressure.
If you believe it, it can happen.
Wow. Okay. Can we get back to the story, please?
I thought we were talking about the story. Gunslingers have hearts of diamonds?
Uh-huh. There's no diamonds in the story.
There's stones.
There are rocks, yes. There are actually, glass. We didn't talk about this in Wizard and Glass, but there are several
I talked
stones.
about it. I said the crystal ball. That's where the glass was.
Yeah, it's pink.
The wizard
used. It was bad. It made people lusty. I'm not even kidding. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So.
It made people lusty.
It did. What do you want from me? I'm just relaying the story to you. What happens in...
I'm trying to relay it to you.
What happens in the Calla? They get to Calla Bryn Sturgis.
I don't know what happens in Calla. I only know what happens in Kaya.
What happens in the Kaya when the gunslingers get to the Kaya? What happens? The Kaya needs protection from what?
From...
What is the title of the book? You've forgotten.
I've forgotten.
The wolves.
The wolves. They need protection from the wolves.
That's true.
So, Oi.
Oi.
Oi can speak to the wolves.
Can he?
He howls with them.
Okay.
And he learns how to sing the song that tames all of the wolves.
Oh.
And so, with one song, the world is a happier place and everyone is able to live in harmony.
So it's the taming of the shrew, but with the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you that the wolves were robots that were dressed like Dr. Doom from Fantastic Four, but also through Harry Potter sneeches and had lightsabers?
What if I told you Stephen King needs to come up with some original ideas?
At least the entire point of The Dark Tower is that it is an amalgamation of all stories, including King stories and everything else.
Uh-huh.
That's the point.
So he's just stealing.
That's not stealing. It's taking creative liberties with your material.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they defeat the wolves, the robots.
Oh.
But the problem is Susanna.
Oh yeah, she's a gunslinger.
She's gotten pregnant though, but it's not Eddie's baby. It's a demon. There's a demon inside her now. Because a demon woman named Mia is inside her too. She has another personality inside her, and Mia's pregnant with
because Susanna is the Odetta person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that brings up book 6, which is called Song of Susanna, in which Susanna is swept away to our world, which is called Keystone Earth, to birth the chap, which is the baby that's going to come out of her, which is a mixture of the Crimson King, who's the big baddie of this whole thing, and also got a little bit of Roland in there too. Because way back in the first book, I didn't tell you about this, but Roland had to have sex with a sex demon to save Jake's life. And while he did that, they got a little of that Roland seed in there. At least I wish I was making all this up, but this is actually the book. All this happens. It's really good, though. You should read it.
See, your dad says it's not a good story.
We don't have to talk about my dad. So that happens. It's a pretty short book overall. They go try to save Susanna. The baby is born. It actually turns into like a creepy spider named Mordred.
Does everyone still appreciate Susanna to her full extent? And is she able to do everything? Or are they downplaying how strong that she is as a woman because she's pregnant?
Susanna is a badass.
Okay.
She's one of my favorite characters in the story. She's awesome. In Wolves of the Callow, we didn't talk about this, but like she got really good at throwing these plates that are not actually plates, but they're like metal discs that like
disc slinger.
Are fucking awesome. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool.
What do they call that in the Olympics? Discs?
Discus.
Is it just discus?
Yeah.
Did I tell you I tried to learn how to do that in high school?
You did not.
I threw the discus and the shot put.
You threw the shot put?
I obviously did not make it past 7th grade.
I wouldn't think so.
Tried pole vaulting as well. None of them were my cup of tea.
Pole vaulting always seemed like it would be really cool because
it's a lot of upper body strength.
You're like launching yourself really high into the air.
Yeah. My friend who was a gymnast quit gymnastics and she went into pole vaulting and she ended up doing a great job because she had all that upper body strength.
My neighbor in the place I grew up in ended up doing pole vaulting at high school. He was a couple years younger than me, so I didn't really hang out with him once we were a bit older, but he apparently was like on the track and field team all throughout high school and did pole vaulting and was, I guess, fairly good at it. It seems so cool, but I've never once done it, nor will I.
I tried.
Let's talk about book 7. It's called The Dark Tower. What happened?
So finally, The Dark Tower, 7 books later.
Yeah.
Well, you remember that key from the garbage?
Oh, yeah, they got the garbage key.
They got the garbage key, they find the tower, and then they just have to walk up and unlock it.
How many people walk into the tower?
1.
Who?
Just Roland.
Where did everyone else go?
Back to where they started.
Where's that?
The beginning of the story.
So Jake just goes home?
He gets completely sent back home and his memory is erased and everything starts back over.
Baby Jake dies. He's dead.
Well, you think that he's dead, but if you start back over at book 1, is he back?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting the one thing you know about this story is that it loops at the end. And you know this because my father, every time we talk about the Dark Tower, goes on this long-winded rant about how much he hates the ending of the story because it loops. He hates it so much.
Well, I'll take it from someone who's read them all.
So yeah, that's the end. Roland walks through the door and bam, he's back at the very beginning and he's back at the gunslinger.
Told you I was right.
That's the end. But he has one thing. He has one thing that he didn't have the first time around. What is it? What is this one thing that is perhaps a symbol that next time things can be different? What do you think it is?
A child.
A child?
Yeah.
Like Jake?
No.
So he just has a baby with him.
That chap. Who's this? Susanna?
The spider demon baby?
Yeah.
No, that's dead, baby. They killed that. That's what killed Oy.
Roland killed Oy?
No, the spider monster baby.
I'm sorry, was Roland somewhat in that spider monster baby?
I don't know. Like, I guess technically in that It has some of his DNA.
You better hope that our son doesn't commit any crimes because you are in that boy. And if he does it, it's your fault.
I feel like if my son turns into a mutant spider that eats people, I feel like I can successfully be like, you know what, I'm gonna disavow the actions of this thing.
Why would you want him to be a spider?
I did not want him to be a spider.
You just said if he were a spider. Why are you wishing him to be a spider?
What? I'm not wishing him to be a spider. I'm saying if it hypothetically
wish you loved our son a little bit more. So what did he have with him?
It's a horn.
I was going to say a diamond.
Oh. I thought you were asking me.
No.
You were just like throwing the question up in the air.
I was restating it. Yes, to think about it.
I'm sorry. You looked me right in the eye and I thought that you were ready to give up. It's a horn. He's going to blow it.
Go ahead. Blow the horn.
I'm not going to blow the horn. That's Roland's job.
Okay.
So that's the Dark Tower. What'd you think? It's a little different from what you said throughout most of it.
You know.
Who's your favorite character?
It's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's got to be the mono.
The Blaine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He is pretty great. Sometimes he talks in a John Wayne voice, and he really...
No, I don't really like John Wayne.
Well, I mean, for me neither, really, but...
So maybe I don't like Blaine, the train.
Do you like Patricia better?
No.
That's the other mono. It crashed.
That's who he got the mono from?
Yeah.
That's why I don't like her.
This is absurd. I don't even know if this is going to be good. I legitimately have no idea if this last half hour of content is worth a damn.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You're going to listen back to it, and then you're going to be like, Elyse, I can't even publish this. And I will have, wasted 30 minutes of my life. I never get them back.
All right, babe. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate this. I hope you folks at home enjoy this absolute nonsense. I think it'd be fun if you guys play this game with if you have any spouses or close friends or whatever, partners that don't read any of the things that you read, but you love this stuff so much. I'd be curious how they react to you asking them to try to explain the plot to one of your favorite series.
Now, I will say, if I had some visuals to accompany, I might have been able to come up with a little bit more of an elaborative story. So if you are wanting to play this at home, maybe give the cover images.
So this is my fault, is what you're saying?
No, I'm just trying to always think of areas for growth. We can always continue to grow. So here's a way we can continue to grow and be better.
I mean, when you're right, baby. That's all I can say.
I'm always right.
Okay, I think that's going to do it for us this week. As we said, we will be back next week. Matt will be healthy, and we will have a new episode covering chapters 38 through 45 of The Shining. We are getting close to the end.
You know what?
What?
If he's not well, part 2, baby.
What are we going to do part 2? What is there left to do?
Well, think about season 2 of Kingslingers.
That's right.
Pick something from there.
Okay, Elyse, talk to me about Salem's Lot.
Now, I know a lot about Salem's Lot, but we're going to hold off for next time.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us this week, folks. Thanks again for putting up with whatever the fuck this is. And we hope we will see you.
And now we can't have our child listen to this one day.
I'll bleep it. Whatever the beep this is. And we'll see you next week for more Shining. Thanks again for having the patience. I hope you enjoyed this little diversion. Long days and pleasant nights. Elyse, this is when you say, and you have twice the number.
And you have 3 times the number.
Oh, why do you?